welcome everybody again to our annual port exchange, which obviously incorporates the consultative meeting as well here at Dover Harbour Board. As Doug says, I'm Jason Holt. I'm chair of Dover Harbour Board. It's a huge privilege, and I'll introduce you to some of the team very shortly. But I've had the very lucky opportunity of being in and around the port and the community for the last 4 years. This is my 4th ACM, to see how everything is fitting into place and the business is growing, the port is doing well, and we're going from strength to strength. And what you'll hear about today will be more of that. Obviously, we've talked about 30 years of cruising, which you saw today, but of course we do an awful lot of ferries here, and we do an awful lot of cargo, which we'll talk to you about as well. So we're advancing on many different fronts at the same time, and I think it is testament to the team here in Dover in the port that they've been able to do so much in so many fronts in such a quick space of time in the last 3 years. Before I begin to offer some reflections, and I won't keep you long, I'd just like to introduce you to the board of Dover Harbour Board, if I may, please. And in no particular order, I'll start with Perry Gladding, our Deputy Chair. Perry chairs the Remuneration Committee, and he also chairs another committee called the EES Committee, of which we'll talk about later on. And I would put down a great deal of success to EES, to Perry's stewardship of how he's got us to there so quickly, in concert with many of the team here sitting at the front. I'd like to say Helen Samuels, and Julie Marson and Neil, hello to you both, are 2 newest board members. They have a particular role here of being community non-executive directors, and I also know from the outset that they've been very busy getting involved in the community here in Dover, which is something we'll talk about to some extent. And of course Neil is no stranger to many of you here as well, so we're really pleased to have you 2 on board. There is one other person I'd like to say hello to, and that's Denise Everett. Denise chairs the audit committee, so she's got the big job of keeping us on the straight and narrow. She does audit and risk. This is Denise's last consultative meeting, annual port exchange, and I would like to say a big thank you to you, Denise. You've been here 6 years. I've learned a great deal from you, and your stewardship, sense of humour and resilience has been great, because we've not always had a clear run at things. So I'd like to say thank you very much for all you've done. Doug and John. Doug Bannister, also on the board, and Jonathan Pascoe, our CFO, both of whom you'll hear more of from shortly. Now, a couple of housekeeping points. There are no fire alarms to be expected, so if you hear the alarm, obviously the exits, please. The main one is over there to your left, my right, and I think there's one here as well. Please note the meeting is being recorded as well, and hopefully that is okay with you all. In particular, and on a positive note, when I first arrived here, relationships with Europe were still emerging post-Brexit. I'm really pleased to say that the post-Brexit political backdrop, whatever your colour of your politics, is improving. And the reason why that's important for us in Dover, yourselves and us, is that we are the gateway to Europe, the undisputed gateway to Europe. And if our relationships are improving with our European neighbours, then that can only be good for Dover and the port itself. And that's come from a very pragmatic approach between ourselves, the UK government, which you saw just a moment ago, Keir Mather, the French government, and the European Union arrangements as well. And they haven't come by chance. They've come because a lot of the team spent a lot of time walking the streets of Brussels and Paris, and indeed Whitehall, knocking on doors, trying to figure out how we can get closer to Europe in a way that we can enhance the trade and business of the port, regardless of what the political conversation is. And I think you've done a really first-class job, because we are now at the threshold of perhaps reaping the benefits again of being closer to Europe, which presumably is why we're all here. We are the gateway to Europe. So that's a great piece of work. But it hasn't come easy. We've had to reclaim a lot of land, which you've seen, and we'll talk about to some extent in a moment. And the European entry and exit system is the gift that never stops giving. It's full of surprises, even though we've done it twice now. We did it for the first time in 2025, I'm looking at Perry, and we got to the finish line despite everybody in government thinking we might not get there, and lo and behold, it was postponed for another 12 months, and yet again we got back to the finish line in time, operating early, thanks to Emma and her team, in October 2026. There are some technological issues, which I'm sure you're all aware of, and I would like to say that last weekend was a little bit of that. You do have our heartfelt considerations if you live in Dover and experience a congestion, but I can assure you that we have a team who are working on it all the time to try and get this fixed so that we get through the summer with as minimum disruption to our community as possible. And that means that we've had to invest a lot of money, and you'll hear about how much we've invested a lot. And that's our money, that's the port's money. It's not government money. It's money that we've had to put into the contributions to make the European entry and exit system work. And I can say we are just about getting that behind us. There's a French set of gremlins in the IT system, but we think that too will be sorted out in the near future. And that means that we now have a Western dock facility that is cutting edge. And you will hear more about the artificial intelligence and the technology that we are incorporating to make the Western docks and the Eastern docks married together to be the European gateway. And there are some very strict, as you can imagine, regulations that are getting from the Western docks to the Eastern docks. Nobody thought we could do it to the satisfaction of immigration, customs, French officials, but we've found a way through the team here, and we're very pleased and thrilled with what we've done. It's cost us £40 million to drain the Granville dock and then fill it full of sand and now tarmac it and put it to good use. And as I say, that comes out of our pockets. And that has held us back fractionally in terms of all the things that we want to do as a board and a port to advance what we're trying to do in Dover. But that is now behind us. We think we'll get the benefit of the £40 million back as we start to trade better and get closer with a frictionless border to France. And you will hear later on today that now that we've got sort of ES behind us to an extent, we've got some very exciting proposals going forward in ferry, port, and ferry, cruise and cargo. We would like to also point out that we work in consultation with yourselves as a community and with the community funds. And again, we gave, I think, £120,000 last year, and we will be making another donation this year to put money towards the pot that we've been giving to the community, which now totals over £1.3 million. And that's an ongoing conversation that we have every year at the board. How much are we able to let the community have to put to work in the projects that we do on behalf of the community? And that's not just cash, that's also volunteering and other aspects where we bring organizations into the port in terms of introducing the community into what we do here. Finally, I should say, and finish on a note, is that no doubt all of you will have seen the film stars that are sitting at the front here in something called Britain's Busiest Port on Channel 4. And I can tell you as a board member, we were slightly anxious about whether or not we should embark on such an adventure, because those of you who might have seen other sort of reality programs will have seen perhaps in the airline business or in the airports or other quite well-known industries, having a camera in the conversation can be good or it can be bad. I think from all that we've seen in the first series, with over 1 million views per week, I think it's been an excellent aspect for what we've done here in Dover. Certainly in the corridors of Whitehall, where we've spent an awful lot of time trying to explain to government what we do here and how we're doing it, they all became avid watchers of Dover, the busiest port in Britain. And that has helped us with our dialogue with government and other stakeholders. And that's been really important. And of course, the great news is we might be doing a series 2, more of which later. But I'll come to the end of that. What I'd like to do is to thank you all for supporting us in the last 12 months. We've gone from strength to strength. Our plans for 2026 are equally ambitious and exciting. We'd like to be back here in another 12 months to tell you more about that. But until then, I'd like to hand over to Doug Bannister, the Chief Exec, who will tell you more about what's coming up. Thank you.
Cheers, Jason. Thanks for that. Yeah, so the order of play, we've got about an hour of the formal stuff that's going to be going on. You're going to hear from people right across the team talking about our financial performance, our operational performance, how we're doing with our people, our environmental agenda. I appreciate that the ACMs can be a lot of broadcasts. We'll get a chance to have some Q&A at the end of the session, but no doubt it'll be very difficult to take all the notes of everything. But you know what? It's all in our annual report, and it's all in our corporate social responsibility report, and they're up online today. At the end of the session, we'll have some QR codes for those of you who do QRs. Otherwise, you can Google or go on our website and you can find them. Right, so some of our headlines from 2025. We make a big, important thing about the values of this place. And so we tie everything, all of our work, everything that we do, into the values that are then expressed in the behaviors of how we operate. So so that's how I'm going to deliver my report. In the first one, it's about working together. And we could not achieve what it is that we do every year without coming up with a strong platform of working across everything. And that includes working with external parties, port partners, people from across the port. We had a cracking summer last year with our ferry business. Volumes were up, things were going well, and it's all down to the efforts that the people put into this. And we had actually everybody processed through the port well within our publicized travel advice. Emma Ward is going to tell you a little bit more about what it takes to lift that kind of operation, and Tim Mays, our Chief Commercial Officer, will also talk about some of the success. I think as Jason was talking about, to get a video from the Maritime Minister is also really important. But that did not come by accident. We spent I don't know if you guys could hear that, but that trolley needs some grease, I think. Sorry, that was a little distracting. We spent a tremendous amount of time in Paris and in Brussels and in London trying to get our message across. And it's finally dawning about this place. It wasn't that long ago where Dominic Raab was on the cliff saying, "I know we're an island now." They didn't really know what Dover did. We hosted ministers at a short straits conference. We've had untold visits down to the port, diplomats and port officials and everybody. We've also just last year we launched our short straits maritime cluster, and John Gauners, who's helping us, it was here earlier. There he is. Thanks, John. Who is helping us to lift this and get some traction behind it. And it really comes down to building focus on Dover, and it all comes down to working together. Now, in terms of our second value I'm going to talk about tonight, which is exchanging ideas and innovating, the entry-exit system, I'll tell you what, we were getting problems after problems after problems thrown at us over several years. And our team dug in and came up with ideas and solutions to the point where we got the French to move their entire border, at least for coaches, out to the Western docks. That's not an easy task. And we also had to convince them that our leading edge, I'm not stepping on your toes. Okay. All right, should I move on? So we did some great stuff, and Emma's going to tell you about it. I think seeing that facility now in operation, certainly when we see the coaches processing through, over Easter, we were processing a coach in 4 minutes. That's over 30 people, sometimes teenagers, sometimes very late at night when teenagers don't like getting corralled. That is an impressive process. In terms of empowering each other, I think one of the biggest demonstrations of this was our TV show that Jason mentioned, Dover 24/7, Britain's busiest port. And clearly, as Jason said, we got up to over 1 million visitors on the night. Then it goes well beyond that with the catch-up TV. Fantastic ratings, with 1 out of every 6 adults watching the program. And the highest engagement actually was 25 to 34-year-olds. And so it not only demonstrated national interest, but we were actually positioning ourselves as being attractive to a younger audience. It was, as a result of the program and showcasing, Dover widely, but the port specifically, 77% of people saying the show had given them a more positive opinion of the port, and 81% of viewers said they would now consider Dover to be a leading example of an international travel hub. That is outstanding results from that program. And it's just so important for us. In fact, it's award-winning. We won an award from Logistics UK Awards around that. And there's some other people-focused stuff that Emma Williams will pick up when we get to her bit. Now, Jason mentioned about Series 2. Watch for the announcement tomorrow. So it's going to come to air very soon. And who knows, we may get a Series 3 out of it. So then finally, looking after everyone and everything, we have done a lot of work within the community and bringing forward social benefits and value creation, and we're going to spend a bit of time talking about what that looks like a little bit later in today. Health and safety-wise, we've seen an increase in hazard reporting and how the team are working together. We've been actually driving a significant program of change for health and safety within the port. Now, one of the things that I'm not stepping on your toes, too, am I? I'm following. So the other thing, too, is that I just wanted to highlight. Meg will talk a little bit about it, and I am going to steal your thunder on this one because I'm going to do it. In 2022, we leaned out, and we said as a port we want to become net carbon zero for Scope 1 and 2 in 2025, or by 2025. When we made that announcement, we were 5 years faster than any other port in the United Kingdom in striving to that goal. The next fastest one actually has quietly slipped their target to 2035. We're 25 years in advance of the United Kingdom's goal. Now, 2025 was last year, and we did it. The first port in the UK to become net carbon zero. And I think probably what I'll do is there's another point on here. We're not stopping there, right? So the fact that we achieved that objective, happy days. But what we are also going to be doing is moving on, and we want to position ourselves to become the UK or the world's first high-volume green shipping corridor. The scale of that challenge is immense, but we are putting energy literally into that. With that, then, I'm going to hand over to John to take us through some of the numbers. John.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, everybody. So, 2025. 2025 is a pretty big year for us. 5 million uplift in revenue. And for the first time in the port's 419-year history, we've exceeded 100 million in revenue in the year. And I think we're the first trust port to do it as well. So we're really, really pleased with that. As a trust port, we've got to continue to drive the revenue. We've got to get the goods and the people through smoothly and efficiently. So when something like EES hits, that's out of our control, costing us £40 million, we've got to find out of nowhere. It doesn't grow the business. It's a process that everyone has to go to. It's a bit of a challenge. So we've got to keep sort of pushing to make our operations more effective, more efficient, just to try and cope with that. We've got to generate more income so that we can pay for things like that, and we can also pay to invest in things that will grow our business. We can't do it alone. We get help from some of our partners. We drew down £25 million in our RCF facility we told you about last year from HSBC and Bank of Ireland, thanks to Des, who's sat in the corner there. At the end of the year, the revenue, profitability was also up. Our EBITDA, earnings before interest and tax, £41 million, up from £40 million the year before, so ahead of budget, ahead of prior year. That's the 5th year of growth in a row, 5th record year of EBITDA for the port, so we're really, as I say, pleased with how things are going. Ferry business, traffic volumes are a little bit lower for us. Tourists were down about 2%. Passengers, 9 million passengers in the year, they were down about 4%. That reflects the economy at the moment. People are finding it slightly hard. Freight volumes also down. They were around 2%. But despite that, we were able to grow our ferry revenue. So they went from just under 80 million to just under 82 million. So another strong performance. And this is a key business for us. This generates about 80% of our revenue through the port, so it really is a key one for us. Cruise, you've just seen all about it. Had its best year for us for revenue last year, just over £5 million, 92 ships, slightly lower number of ships than the year before, but a real big increase in the number of passengers on those ships. The cruise industry has really bounced back post-COVID. I think we were sat here during COVID thinking, how is this going to work? But it's really come back strongly. That just shows what a strong industry that is for us, and it's why we're looking to invest heavily in it to grow it and to sort of maintain our position in the industry. The other big area for us, cargo. Cargo had a really very, very strong, sounding a bit repetitive now, isn't it? Very strong year in 2025. A 28%, nearly a 30% increase in revenue, just under £8 million. It's the most successful year since we moved across to the Western Docks. Increasing number of ships, increasing number of perishable cargoes. We now import roughly half the melons, I think, into the UK, and a number of the bananas as well, I think. So another very good one. And then the other two areas of the business, property and marina. Our property portfolio is quite extensive: hotels, restaurants, leisure businesses. We let property to the government, increasing revenue there from just under 6 million to just over 6 million. And marina and the other industries, other areas of the business, another £2 million as well. So that just shows that every part of our business is contributing to the success of this port. It shows the strength of having a multitude of income streams. So we've got to continue that. 25, a strong year. 26, hoping for another strong year. Try and get EES embedded and working. That's not in our control, clearly. We're ready to go. We're just waiting for the technology to work. And to find out how we're going to grow in the current year, I'll hand over to Tim Mays, our Chief Commercial Officer.
Good afternoon. My name's Tim Mays. I joined late in 2024 as Chief Commercial Officer, and so 2025 was my first full year for reporting. As John mentioned, 2025 was the most successful year in the port's history. Is that a coincidence? No, look, that success is driven by our customers and the fantastic relationships we're building with them. This is what sets us apart from other ports, and it's what we love doing. So we are beginning to reorientate the whole business towards the customer. We're doing this by building a much deeper understanding of our customers and our consumers so that we understand their needs in a way no one else does. Now, for me, when I say customer, I mean it in the widest possible sense. So I mean it in terms of everyone from a ferry operator to a marina berth holder to a stakeholder or a member of the local community. They're all customers to us. And as we better understand their needs, we're better able to meet them and provide better and ever-growing services. And as you'd expect, much of this service is being delivered by digital change, through digitising old processes and developing our digital marketing capability. And only yesterday I was reading an article in the Manchester Evening News that served up an advert for this very meeting. I have no idea how they did it, but it was pretty impressive. We're making Dover a place that people want to come to do business with, where they want to experience or travel through, so that we all flourish. Now, cruise, you've heard a huge amount, and I'm very proud of our cruise team. We've already begun the customer journey here, delivering great experiences and measuring guest Net Promoter Score. The Net Promoter Scores here are phenomenal, and we'll publish more of those in future years. But it's why the cruise business have 22 exceptional brands choosing to come through Dover. For context, there's about 35 globally, so 22 out of the 35. But it's why Carnival Cruise Lines returned for the 18th year, and it's why we had 4 liners, as you've seen several times today already. Now, one example of that would be our cruise partner, Azamara. Azamara seek to create money-can't-buy experiences for their passengers, for their guests. Not on every cruise, on selected cruises, but they chose Dover and worked with us at the port and English Heritage to deliver a medieval evening up at the castle to create what was a truly once-in-a-lifetime event for a largely North American audience. Our reach is ever further than before. And we also ensured that when we had inaugural calls, the first time ships are called in here, of which we had 7, we make a big welcome for them. And a great example of this was Mystic Cruises' World Voyager, whereby the Mayor of Dover came specially on board to present a plaque from the town that symbolised the importance of cruising to the local visitor economy. It's a great gesture to the cruise line that they really appreciate, and a strong demonstration of the port's partnership with the town of Dover. In cargo, in 2025, the business has demonstrated the highest standards to earn the trust of our customers and our supply chain. And we demonstrated this by achieving the BRCGS International Certification for Category 1 temperature-controlled storage, which effectively means they're brilliant at managing perishable goods. Now, that's the only port in the UK that managed to achieve that. Only last month that was upgraded to an A, with continued enhancements behind that process. And with this commitment to managing robust food safety, quality and operational excellence standards, we've been able to grow that perishable business. As John mentioned, about half of all the melons consumed in the UK come through the port of Dover now. And it's one of the reasons the business grew by almost 150% last year. But as this business continues to diversify, our customers trust us to renew contracts to manage aggregate, to manage steel, and to manage heavy lift items such as the one behind me. In Marina, our focus on customer, berth holders and visitors is also starting to pay dividends. The Marina business is a tough market with an ageing demographic and a lot of cost of living pressures. But in 2025, a really smart digital campaign has put us in contact with customers and future customers in a way that we've not done before. And that has enabled us to communicate about our smart practices in sustainable marina. And in fact, just recently, we've once again been voted in the top 300 marinas globally. That's out of about 15,000 marinas, to give you some context. Something we're hugely proud of. But for me, property is one of the most exciting areas where we can drive real change that many of you will see day to day. And a blend of regeneration and renovation is why we've been granted residential development for Waterloo Crescent, regenerating one of our seafront's most run-down but prominent buildings into 17 modern apartments. This, in turn, has unlocked a move for the Royal Cinque Ports Yacht Club into new and prominent premises overlooking the outer marina, which is the modern-day heart of Dover's yachting community. If you've not seen the clubhouse that's being built there, please have a look at it. And that, in turn, is right next door to the Salty Dog Cafe, which you might have seen has just opened recently, that we can heartily recommend. Both of these are on Marina Curve, which, of course, is where we've been granted planning permission now for an enlarged hotel that, once built, will create significant local employment and inward investment as part of our longer-term plans. So having said all that, our success in attracting, retaining and growing business is entirely reliant upon great operational service delivery for our customers. And none of that would be possible without the fantastic work of our operational colleagues, and to whom I'm ever grateful. Remind me I said that, yeah. On that note, I'd like to hand over to Emma Ward, our Chief Operations Officer. Thank you.
What a year operations have had. Honestly, the one thing I love about the ACM is that this is real opportunity that I get to say thank you to my operational teams. I mean, I know that we've talked about the television programme, but it just does not give all of the context of what these guys do. You know, so you've got terminal control, you've got our coast teams, you've got cargo, you've got crews. If they're not moving bags, they're moving melons, they're moving people, you know, and they work long hours in the worst weather, and they just get on with it. You've got our security teams, our policing teams who stand up on tap. It's raining and they just stand there and with all these lorries, and they just get on with it. And it's just great to be able to just say thank you. As I said, I just think sometimes we don't say it enough. And I'm just so proud of my teams. They're just amazing. And what I will say about the television programme is that it showed Dover operation. I was just so proud of them all watching it. But what it doesn't show is all of the planning that goes on behind the scenes. And, you know, it's a bit boring looking at spreadsheets. Not that Doug would think that. It's a bit boring looking at spreadsheets and heat maps and all the planning that we do. So you don't really get that sort of the amount of time that people take to make sure that everything runs smoothly. And I think one of the stories I would like to say about the television programme is that I was sat in a restaurant in Thailand, and this guy came up to me and he went, "Are you the woman who couldn't break the bottle on the television programme?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." So it shows how far-reaching that television programme was. And as I say, we've got Series 2 starting, so it's all very exciting. Let me move on to the gift that just keeps giving, the entry-exit scheme. Have you moved on to... Oh, thanks, because Jenny's doing my clicker for me. And so, again, this has been probably part of my life now for 2.5 years. But again, to put it into context, we only got permission at the beginning of last year to be able to operate out the Western Docks. So up until then, it was just a piece of land. It was just a sand. And so this project team, who probably hate me for the pressure that they have been under for the last 18 months to deliver what has been a really, really difficult project. And they did. We, you know, from the February to the November, we had to have the first stage ready, and we were. And I think at times that project team used to look at me and go, "Can't do it, can't do it. Yeah, we can, yeah, we can." And they did. And then they continue to deliver, ready for whenever the technology does get working. But I wanted to especially mention a few people, because without them, this just would not have happened. Kieran Jacobs, he was the project manager for it. Louise Hooley, who has managed the money like no other. Andy Gilfrin, who did a lot of the design work. And I mean, he was designing literally as we were going, because that was the only way that we could deliver in time. Craig Paynton, who I know I drove to distraction at times. Leon Packer, he did a lot of the IT. Simon Ravel, who, with Brock Solutions, they delivered the AI system, which enables us to move cars from the Western Docks to the Eastern Docks and allows them to track. Again, it was a state-of-the-art thing. We've never, ever done anything like that before, and they delivered it on time. And I've got to say, I don't even know if he's here tonight, Paul Biles, who is part of my operations team. So he's my project liaison guy, who has kept me sane for the last 2 years. I don't know if he's as sane, but he's kept me sane. And to be fair to him, he is that like linchpin between the project team and the operations team, and he kept that going. He really did, and he's still doing it to this day. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of them, because what you're seeing now, and what one day when it's open and you're all travelling through it, I hope you appreciate the amount of time and effort that went into delivering that. Moving on to the Moana scheme, now that's not a Disney princess, I'm talking about a French IT system. So as part of the EES scheme, we managed to negotiate with France, and it's a reciprocal thing where English school children can travel through Dover and don't have to do EES. So what they do is pre-register all their data, it gets washed through before they arrive, and it just basically means that they're straight through the border. So I don't want to refer back to the 2.5 years ago when we had the issues around school children, but what we're seeing now is coaches of kids are going through in like 4 minutes through that facility. And as I say, for the school and for the economy for France and in the Europe, it's huge for us. So over Easter, we took something just under 400 coaches in 24 hours through that facility. The majority of them were school children, but they went through with no issues. So that's huge, and it's being rolled out now to other portals and to the airlines. So it was a huge thing for Dover to deliver that. I haven't got my glasses. So moving on to safety. So I'm responsible for safety and environment. I'm not going to stand here and talk about environment. I will let Meg to do that because she's a lot better at it than I am. But I would like to talk about a few safety highlights. So Doug did talk about, that we've had this huge shift in our safety culture, and culture change is not an easy thing to do anyway, but safety has been a big part certainly of my directorate last year, and we've done a complete change to how we approach safety, even down to we've got a new head of safety who I think is here tonight, Lee. But what we're seeing now is that all of our staff are really, really engaged. We've seen a huge increase in learning walks. We call them learning walks. You go out, you look, you highlight safety issues, positive and negative. And at the start of any meeting now, we do safety moments. And we're starting to see a real cultural shift, because you're starting to see things are being reported a lot more, and all of our statistics are going up, which is amazing. And so again, thank you to everybody who's been involved in that. And then I just want to touch on the marine safety. So our marine teams, again, they've got the best job in the port. I always think they're around it. Our own chairman's done his own pilot safety training, and we do a lot of work on the marine side, as you would expect as a port. But our marine teams take safety so seriously. It is very part of their core values. And they're a bit of a leader in that area as well. So they're really helping us to drive the safety through. Voice is going now. So I think anything else about sort of around the port safety you can read in our CSR report, but I think I'm going to hand over to Meg now, who's going to talk to you about environment. You're going to be great. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Meg. So Doug did steal my thunder a little bit earlier, but that's okay. As you mentioned, last year we were successful in meeting our Scope 1 and 2 carbon net zero target. We were the first port in the UK to do that, 25 years ahead of the government's target. Just to help everyone understand what we mean when we say Scope 1 and Scope 2, it's all of our direct operational emissions that we kind of have on site. So think of things like diesel in vans, gas in the boilers, electricity for the lights, all the things that we do here on site. To help you understand the scale of what we've been able to achieve, we started recording our carbon footprint back in 2007, and it was 13,908 tonnes of carbon. That's about the same amount of carbon if you imagine about 1,400 homes, so quite significant. Lots and lots of projects in those years between 2007 and 2025, things like procuring sustainable biofuels for our own vessels, all the way to installing 1.5 megawatts of solar panels, both on the cargo terminal and in eastern docks. And through all of those works, as well as a lot of smaller works looking at lighting efficiencies, heating efficiencies, we were able to reduce our carbon down to 239 tonnes, which is about 24 homes worth of carbon. So that's a massive 98.3% reduction in carbon, which is huge. Those kind of residual emissions, those 239 tonnes, have been offset through a carbon credit scheme. It's local to the port, it's just in Ashford. And not only does it help reduce that residual bit of carbon, but it brings a bunch of other positive environmental things, such as biodiversity improvements for the local area. It's not just scope 1 and 2 carbon, we're also looking at our scope 3 carbon. So what this is all the things that happen because of the port but not at the port, so our supply chain emissions. As I'm sure you can imagine, they're significantly larger than our scope 1 and 2 emissions. And so we're working with our supply chain to see what we can do to bring those down in line with that 2030 target. It's not just carbon, we're also looking at what we can do to protect the wider environment here at the port. As you may have seen, published kind of at the end of last year, we were successful in achieving a platinum award for our regatta. It's the 4th year in a row that we've been able to achieve that. We were also successful in meeting our zero waste to landfill target for the port's own waste. We saved about 490 tonnes of carbon by doing that, by not sending waste to landfill. We recertified to ISO 14001 and PERS, which are just international standards for the environmental management we do here at the port. It goes to show the high level of environmental considerations that go into our day-to-day operations to make sure we're taking care of the environment. We achieved excellent bathing water. While Dover Beach is not a designated bathing water beach and we do not legally have to do any testing, we like to do that to make sure we're giving the community that reassurance that it is a safe place to swim. We also survey the whole year round now, not just in the bathing season, and it's brilliant to see that we're excellent again. Benthic organisms, for those that don't know, those are the species that live on or within the seafloor in the seabed. We've seen some really great improvements in the percentage of both benthic species as a whole, as well as individual organisms. So we have about 40 benthic species in 2025 and about 1,500 individual organisms found across our surveys, which, as you can see there on the screen, about a 47% improvement from the average that when we started these surveys back in 2002. We also counted 19,000 individual birds in 2025 across our bird surveys, which is 19% up from last year, which is on top of the 17% up from the year before. It's just showing that all of the species in and around the port are really thriving, even with all the operations that we have going on here. We also undertook the first biosecurity surveys for the port in 2025. This is to look for kind of invasive and non-native species in and around our area. This has allowed us to understand where they might be and to be able to track them so that we're not having any sort of spreading of those species that would harm the native species that you'd find in this area. So just to summarise, 2025 was a really great year for the environment and for the port. Hopefully you've been able to see all the great things we're doing. If you want some more details, please have a look at the CSR report as well as our environmental monitoring report. All the surveys we do, we make all of that information publicly available. So have a look on the website and I'll hand over to Emma.
Okay, so a big focus for my area has been on delivering capability for growth, and that has multiple elements to it. One end is school engagement. We need to spark interest in the maritime industry, and we need to showcase the career pathways that the Port of Dover can offer at a very early age. We engage with local schools and colleges and inspire young people about the range of opportunities that we have on offer. One example of the work we've been doing is collaboration with Maritime UK and the Inspiring the Future Maritime event that we held at Astor School with over 100 pupils participating to find out the range of careers that we have on offer at the Port of Dover. I personally attended that event, and it was really great to see the excitement on the children's faces as they got to try on the police uniforms and see how the cranes operated, and hopefully they'll be joining us for a career at the port at a later stage in their life. We continue to have our apprenticeship programme, and this is part of a broader strategy to support growth, and it also helps us develop skills now and for the future. We continue to grow talent and are currently supporting 14 apprentices. We are committed to investing and nurturing in local talent, and subsequently many of our apprentices go on to have a career at the Port of Dover and to go on to a higher level of achievements in those qualifications. In the past year, our apprentices have completed programmes in project control, maintenance, operation, engineering, constructions, to name but a few. So a broad range of apprenticeship programmes that we have on offer. Job architecture has been one of the key achievements this year, and it's aligned closely with industry standards. It's an important milestone because it's created a strong foundation for future growth and development. It basically clarifies different roles, expectations, job levels, and the capabilities, and it helps us identify, support, and develop talent across our business. It also provides a fair and transparent and competitive framework for every role within the organisation, ensuring consistency and clarity for all our employees. Now, to achieve growth, we need capable leaders and managers who can provide the vision, direction and support needed to drive strategy and performance. We've launched our Agile Leadership Programme this year, and we've also launched an Emerging Talent Leadership Programme. We've also got a good focus and key focus on our middle managers, and we are developing them to support growth and future development moving forward. So we've got a strong pipeline of emerging leaders and technical leaders that we need for the future. So in terms of tracking our progress, open and honesty is what we need across the organisation. That's incredibly important for us. And that's why we empower our people to measure how well we do in progressing our continuous improvement journey. I'm pleased to share that we had 70% of our employees taking part in our latest engagement survey. The results showed a higher engagement index, so we were up from 6.9 in 2004 to 7.3 in 2025. This is a significant improvement. We've also seen an increase in our Net Promoter Score, our employee Net Promoter Score, and these results reflect the growing sense of pride, loyalty and advocacy across our organisation. So recognising and rewarding our people is also an important part of our growth journey, and now in its full year, our online reward and recognition platform has become an invaluable way to celebrate and publicly recognise our people in real time and celebrate the jobs well done across the organisation. Our in-person port exchange is an employee event and it plays an important role. It's an open forum to encourage our colleagues to share ideas, strengthen communication and connect with others across the organisation. This year we also introduced the new port values, and these are awards that recognise individuals who achieve the contributions that truly reflect our core values. Together, these initiatives have created powerful ways to celebrate our people, their successes generating exceptionally strong engagement as we continue to grow our business across the organisation. Finally, when it comes to building capability for growth, I'd like to briefly highlight our social value agenda. This is an area that we will develop significantly over the next 12 months as we work for better coordinate and strengthen our activities to increase awareness of what we do while we maximise the benefits for the port and our local community. Over recent months, we've taken time to reflect on how growth can create value for everyone connected to the port. And from this way, we engage with the people to future skills and job opportunities, to the experiences across the port estate, our support for the community and the projects and services we invest, but put simply, we want to grow together in every sense. A key part of that ambition is how we work to support our community. So with that, I'm going to hand back to Doug to talk more about the community activity.
Great. One of the things I wanted to kick off with is to acknowledge our Port and Community Forum. Now, this is an entity that's been around for a dozen years or so. And it's been operating well, and in particular under the chairmanship of Mick Tedder, who's here. One of the things we started thinking about is how do we lift what it is that we do in the community to a higher level, and that is through a concentration on what do we consider social value to be and how do we deliver maximum social benefit into our community. So we're looking at doing a bit of a refresh with our Port and Community Forum, which is inviting new people with different perspectives, different ideas to come onto the panel. You'll see more of that taking place over the coming couple of weeks. Now, we also lay on community events. So our Dover Regatta is a very popular one, of course. But these are moments where people in the port and the community can enjoy what the port has to offer. Renamed now to Dover Harbor Festival for this year on the 4th, 5th of July, if I think I have that right. Thank you, Deidre. But also what we did is we've laid out in a few other events. So we had the Spanish Galleon in, that was a good event. We had Captain Webb's 150th Cross-Channel Swim anniversary, where we had a bit of a procession along the seafront. We had a bit of a celebration around that. We had the Echoes sound mirror out on the clock tower on the Marina Curve to showcase the 90 years since the invention of radar. And then last November, we had the Cavell van here in the cruise terminal when we were doing our Remembrance Day services. Now the Cavell van is, that was the special railway wagon that had been refurbished, lovely, but it was the railway wagon that took the unknown warrior from his resting point here when he came back from France up to his final resting point up in Westminster. And we brought that in and we opened that up to the community. Now, there's something about this that, in Dover, we recognize the connection that we have to history. Certainly we can go back 400 years in our current structure for the port, but actually our proximity to Europe means that you got to go back millennia to really see how it is. And all these moments are celebrating different points in our rich history as well. Now, we've also tried to give more support to our local community. And, we've marked a decade of contributing to our Port Community Fund. So far, having supported nearly 160 organizations with approaching $1.5 million. It's $1.3 million. And I'm really delighted that, again, tonight, we're going to be adding more money to that fund. But before we do, what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite Angus Cameron up here. He's the co-founder and creative director at Utabu to say a little bit about what the Community Fund has meant for them. Angus.
So I think to start, we've got a video to play first.
Ooty boo, ooty boo.
Good afternoon, my name is Chris. As we know, we're here to talk about money, we're here to learn about money. Deborah Meadham, she knows lots and lots about money, so she's written a book for primary age children. When we leave today, we're going to give this to your class. Now, the way our workshop runs, there's a little bit of sitting down at the start, some mini activities. Some of them will involve using your pencils and we'll give you some paper as well. If I got on a ferry, went across to France, what currency would I need? Euro. Euros, fantastic. One of the businesses you might want to run today is making Petri. That's absolutely fine. You've seen our market stalls that we've got set up. You are going to be in charge of those market stalls. We want to give you some of the currency that we have created, okay? It's only valuable in this room. So you're going to have about 5 minutes of shopping time. What I'll do, I'll clap my hands and let you know when you're halfway through so you can start budgeting a little bit.
Business is good here, isn't it?
Ooty-boo!
So, I'm part of Utabu, and we deliver real-life learning for children. primary school aged. We think that's very important. That's where we can have the most impact. So obviously you've seen an example of our work from the workshop side, and that our financial literacy workshops, especially our market activity, is extremely loud with a lot of very engaged children, which is great fun when you've got tinnitus. But we do a lot more than real life, than just the workshops. We also do competitions and activities. And for example, as well as our seasonal craft competitions, we also have done a competition where children had sent in video questions about space, and these were answered by the crew of the Fram-2, which I noticed Fram earlier, the Fram-2 mission as they orbited Earth last spring. So giving children, and 3 children from Kent were included in that, and they could actually see themselves floating on the digital tablet that the astronauts were answering. We also do social mobility projects. We work with Canterbury Christchurch University, and here we've done projects around sound improvisation and digital technologies. And we've also worked with HarperCollins, where the children had a chance to do a workshop on Minecraft. So you can imagine how popular that was for children to take a day off school to go into central London and learn more about Minecraft. Next, please. So we are a community interest company. We are a non-profit. We are based in Folkestone, so around the corner. So working with the Port of Dover is really important to us because it's on our home turf. And out of those 288, it's actually 289 schools, that's actually represented by 25 countries now, as well as across the UK. So great for cultural sharing. Again, another great synergy for sort of the outlook as, for Dover. And within Kent alone, we've got 80 schools that we're now working with. And obviously, our workshops, the amount of children working that take part in our workshops and our competitions are growing all the time. Next, please. So, working with the Port of Dover, we began this last year. So that was our first year working with the Port, and we were very lucky to get funding to be able to support our workshop program. So as you saw from the video, you can see the impact that we had. Also, what's not on the stats is the fact that we have gained more schools within the district, so we're working with more schools locally, and currently I think we have 17 schools within the Dover district area that we work with. And the involvement with the Port of Dover is very important because we're talking about real life learning, and we're living in a very uncertain age, and with the rise of AI and the impact, especially for entry-level jobs, the importance of practical, real skills that can be then applied to jobs within the port, for example, I think have become more important than ever. Next slide, please. So, a couple of quotes from teachers and also from students. Quite a fun one at the end from the student. And we actually had one student said, "Are you coming back tomorrow?" So hopefully we're doing something right. Next, please. And so this was 2025, we're now in 2026, and we've been fortunate to have additional funding from the port to continue our work and to expand our work. So we continue to deliver our financial literacy workshops to schools. So I think we've now delivered around about 25 workshops to schools so far this year, with more to come. But it's also because we've now got the space where we can deliver workshops, we can also develop new projects. So we're currently working with a Canadian-based company, and an old colleague of mine who's ex-Pixar. Her claim to fame was she was the cinematographer for Finding Nemo. But we're working with her, so her beautiful artwork, to create an eco-based project around soil. Not the most exciting of subject matters, but within the way we're going to be representing it, it should be a lot of fun. And that's what we're all about, real-life learning and fun, playful learning. And then finally, so a thank you obviously to the Port of Dover Community Fund for supporting us over the last 2 years, and we hope this is only the beginning and we can continue to grow and have more impact within the local community and beyond. Many thanks.
Very good. Thank you very much, Angus. It's absolutely fantastic to see how a bit of investment from the Port of Dover gets built on to generate some really significant value from within our community. And I don't know if you noticed, but you had Meg very excited about this oil project.
I did actually, yeah.
Right, can I ask Jenny and and others? Yeah, yes, thank you. Will you come? And all the other beneficiaries from the Port of Dover Community Fund to join me up on stage. That'd be great. Sorry, I thought you were going to come up, right?
I'm going to come up, but we're going to do our reveal, aren't we? We're able to give more money to the Port of Dover Community Fund, so we're about to make that reveal right now. Oh, quick. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
We've got a photo. Hang on, we've got Max.
Oh.
Yeah, you're okay? Everything? Excellent. Thank you, everyone.
Very good. Thanks, guys. Now, that's the first time that we did the reveal in that way, and I think we might need a bigger stage. I mean, it's incredible that first of all, that everybody came out to support the event today, but also just to show the diversity of everybody who was involved in that. So I wanted to talk another thing about another element of our community, which is our employee volunteering program. We started this about 2 years ago. And what we do is we give everybody in the company a day off a year to go out into the community and volunteer in doing something. It can be, it can be reading to school kids, it can be a whole range of things. A lot of it is around more heavy lifting and engineering work and creating structures for schools and all that kind of stuff. And we had a record year last year, and I think it was just shy of 1,000 hours in total of volunteering hours out into the community. Now the thing is whilst it does create value for the community, and I think it's fantastic for Port of Dover people to be seen out in the community doing this, it also provides something to the people in our company as well, because it gives us a chance to go and spend the day with colleagues and work hard at doing something with a bit of success around that and a bit of team building. It is very, very good. Now, the other thing that we do is we have a sponsorship program, and we had another record year in that activity as well, where we had 28 sponsorships being awarded during the year, and that is towards developing people and aiding physical and mental well-being. It's targeted at the under 18s, and it's provided support from local teams to individual athletes. It's about really trying to support people, young people, in achieving their ambitions, and we're very proud about that. And I'd like to bring Andrew Carson, chairman of Dover Lifeguard Club, to come and say a couple of words.
I'm just going to run through 5 slides, so it should take 5 minutes, about the support we've had from the Port of Dover. This sort of started in 2024 in the summer with the first Dover Regatta swim for many years, I think, which we were able to put on with the help of Dietrich Schmidt, who I made contact with probably at Christmas time. Let's just go on to this. Next one. Yeah. So this was, I drove down the Jubilee Way on the way to the port about 8 o'clock in the morning that morning. I thought, what the hell have we got ourselves into? It was extremely blustery. Dietrich was pinning down tents. There was a swell in the water, and I was quite concerned. We only had 20 swimmers signed up for it because we had an insurance, wouldn't call it an issue, but they had to be Swimmingland members to be insured, and it was quite hard to find a company that would cover such an event. We did cover all the safety requirements with Deirdre's help and some other people from the Port of Dover, and it was brilliant. It was the only, I don't know who that person was in the baked bean hat, but he was the only person from the club in your Port of Dover documentary. I'll find out one day. Yeah, we had a beach lifeguard deployed, safety boats, and everyone got out of the water alive. So it was a good day. It was a good learning opportunity, and we went on to next year with the Captain Webb swim. We'll go on to that one. Now, this was a much better event because I had nothing to do with the organisation, perhaps. And we had a junior event, 100 entrants in this one, full insurance, so members of the public could join in. It was a great day with Future Foundry involved in making stuff like that. That's right, isn't it? I think they did all that. And it was a day like this, so it really worked out well. Everyone had a great time. Presentations were great. We had a world-renowned swimmer. She has a Wikipedia page, so you might not have heard her, but that's my benchmark for being famous, a Wikipedia page. Yeah, we'll just go on to the next one. Anyway, the youth sponsorship. This has given the great opportunities for our members to succeed. It's really important to me that sporting opportunities aren't separated out by what school you go to. And unfortunately they are, particularly in a town like Dover. I have my own children in the girls' grammar school. They get very little there compared with somewhere like the Duke of York's. And to have that separation from the age of 11 is something that I believe as a club we have a duty to provide the best sort of swimming service we possibly can to our junior members for them to succeed. So all our junior members have benefited throughout the club. We've ran a free Minnows Gala with the support of the Port of Dover. That's for children that wouldn't be allowed to swim in galas otherwise. Keeps their engagement going, give out medals to most of them, and that was a good fun couple of hours at the pool. We've run a 2-day training camp at the Duke of York's. Olympian Jacob Peters came down. Again, there's a Wikipedia page, so you might not have heard of him. But our head coach had heard of him, but he was excellent. And these kind of opportunities cost about £200 for children to go and do around London or whatever. We did 2 days for £50, not for profit at all. And it's in half term. Parents get a chance to have a couple of days off. And the children had a great time. We've introduced other training aspects, which is land training, subsidised. PT instructors are very expensive, I've found out. So although the facility at the sports centre is relatively fairly priced, we're able to deliver this at a fair price to our members. Next one. Okay, I almost ran out of room for the success for 2025, but we had 60 qualifying swimmers for the Kent County Championships. Now that put us in the top sort of 6 clubs in Kent for that, so we actually ended up having to lead some of the warm-ups and things at the Kent Championships, which has not happened before. We've been nowhere near this, really. We had a couple of wins for our younger swimmers at the Kent Relay Championships, several gold medals at the Kent Championships. We've had 4 qualifiers across English and British national championships, round wins in Arena League, South East Division 1, which we've never had before. We've got a trustee, Scott Walker, who's been around. He wouldn't like to say how long he's been around, but for, I'm going to say 50 years, generously. Probably not that long. But that's the first time he's ever heard of that happening. We were the top East Invicta club. East Invicta is a group of about 8 clubs in South East Kent, including Thanet, have always been our rival club, but we beat them in every round last year of Kent Junior League in all 3. So that was a big sort of success for us, and improved on from 16th place in Kent Junior League to 6th, and got to the finals in the last round, and that was a good evening against some of the top clubs in Kent. And then we've had 28 qualifying swimmers in the South East Regional Championships. So this has helped us support these swimmers. We've given them subsidised entries to events like South East or over in Wickham, and a long way away. They're expensive for parents to be able to manage and travel to, so that we've been able to subsidise entry costs, because although you qualify, you still have to pay £15 or £20 a race for these things, and some children, if they're really good, qualify for a lot of races, which is great. Yeah, I'll just sort of finish up. So these are our national qualifiers. That's Jess, Beth, Ashton and Autumn. I've been involved in the club for about 7 years, and we've only ever had 3, I think, including Ashton, in all the time I've been there. So to move on to 4 this year is brilliant. And yeah, the fact we've been able to keep kids engaged with camps and supported them with the entries, and the Port of Dover swimming that we've done has all been part of the kind of engagement and building the profile of the club, which has been extremely helpful through the Port of Dover. And some great people that you've got here. Dietrich has been extremely helpful, Jenny as well. Always can't do enough to help, I've found, and very proactive in supporting our local club, and I'm sure a lot of others. That's it. Thank you very much.
I'll tell you what, how can you not be inspired by that list of accomplishments just in 1 year? I mean, rising from 16th to 6th to 4 people in the Nationals, I mean, that's just extraordinary. Thank you so much, Andy. Right, now we've come to the point in the day when you guys get to ask some questions. We'll have some roving microphones around, I think. If I could just ask, if you want to ask a question, if you could just let everybody in the room know who you are and where you're from, that would be great. So, over to you guys. There's Elspeth here.
Hi, I'm Elspeth. I'm from Wet Wheels and the Dover Sports Centre. It was a quick question for Megan, actually. You said we've had a raise in number of birds, but did you have any, do you know the different species? Do you record that if we had a raise in different species? And have we got any unusual species that are now coming around?
Yes, we do. We do a bird survey every single week of the year, so we spend a lot of time looking at birds. If you go into the Environmental Monitoring Report, we actually produce a map where you can see every single species and where they were found in the port as well, so you don't just have to wonder where that is. And we get all sorts, I think a herring gull's special personally, they are protected nationally, but we do get all sorts of special species in and around the port. We've had great northern divers. We have a pair of breeding red starts, which I think, I don't know where Ben is because he can correct me how many breeding pairs there are in the UK, but it's less than 20. Yeah, there's hardly any, and they're breeding around this cruise terminal here, so we have all sorts of really special birds. Have a look at the report, you can see a whole list. There's hundreds and hundreds of species. It's okay.
Thanks for that. And I'll tell you what, you don't need to do very much to wind Meg up, and when she goes, right? Thanks, Meg. Anybody else? I'll just go back to Ed here, and then we'll come down here.
Hi, Edward Biggs. I'm a district councillor and a town councillor. You made various references through this presentation about EES, and I think it would be good to have an understanding of what problems were experienced last weekend, and I guess for my purposes it's understanding, you know, what we're coping with, what we've got to expect for the residents of Dover, and very much it seemed to me that last weekend was a blueprint potentially for the summer getaway. So it's quite a concern that we haven't been in a position, it seems, to actually get this whole process going. So I think some insight from you in terms of what happened, and certainly an insight of, you know, where are we confident that we're going to be in a position in the summer getaway that isn't going to have a big impact on the town? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. It is a really good question. So fundamentally, last weekend, we found it extraordinarily frustrating. As has been heard, in Port of Dover, we reclaimed land from the sea. We invested £40 million in creating a facility that was specifically designed to be able to handle peak volumes safely and efficiently. We have created a brand new computer system to monitor the flow of traffic from the western docks to the eastern docks. We've installed 84 kiosks out in the western docks to be able to take the EES information, both the profiles and the biometrics. And we can't turn them on. And that's because the French technology isn't working. And that is probably the most frustrating thing. Now, as from the 10th of April, the full EES came into effect. And we have been pushing very hard until such time as the French technology is proven to work, that we can have a dispensation from EES activities taking place in the eastern docks. This last weekend was entirely as we predicted it would be. When we predicted it would be that way, we alerted French authorities, we alerted governments, our government, ministers, officials, we alerted the Kent Resilience Forum or Kent Medway Resilience Forum, Kent Police, we alerted everybody, and we were pleading for a proactive step on the basis of our modeling to make certain that that didn't happen. Now, generally, for the last couple of years, in the summertime, so we have 16 busy days a year, just 16. And of those 16 days, we might have 1 or 2 where we spill outside the port. But in the last couple of years, we haven't had gridlock like we had on Saturday. And that was what was most frustrating, because we've been working so hard over the last couple of years to ensure that the town of Dover remains clear when we're having problems or challenges. So it was really frustrating. So now what do we need to do is we need to convince our government, the French authorities, that we need to get the ability to proactively stand down the EES checks when our proven, accurate model is saying it's going to be necessary. And that, Ed, is where we're going to be concentrating attention over the next few weeks so that we can set ourselves up for success in summer rather than the challenges like we saw last Saturday. Is that all right? Down here, yellow top.
Christine Headley. I live in the Gateway and walk to the curve quite a lot. The information boards about the wildlife on the front, the URLs don't work, or I'd have done this by email. Why on earth have the beds been dug up?
So, one of the things we do, and the survey I didn't talk about earlier, is we do a terrestrial ecology survey of the whole port estate every year to check what flora we've got in and around the estate. And we found over the last few years that we were seeing a really overtake of grasses in those areas. It would make sense with birds, you know, carrying seeds around and things like that. And in looking into it, we really needed to clear out those grasses to allow the natural coastal flowers, things like sea cabbage, to be there. So we decided to pull out, having a look at the quantity of grasses versus the plants that we wanted there. It was at the point where it was better just to rip them out and start again. So we've planted a load of coastal seeds, and hopefully in the next few, I think I've seen a few of them start to come through, but it will take a little bit of time. They are going straight back to wildflower coastal beds. It was just a case of they'd gotten to the point where grasses had really taken over and we weren't getting the environmental benefit we were looking for anymore. So yeah, we're also going to have new signs as well.
Thanks, Meg, and thanks for that. Any other questions? We got time for about one more in the back. Way back.
Martin Webster. I'm a member of the Dover Society Executive and born and bred Dovorian. Could I ask you, Mr. Bannister, please, to make a few comments about the provision for foot passenger traffic at the eastern docks and how it might be improved?
So right now, only one out of the 3 ferry operators offer a foot passenger service, and that's P&O. It's a product that has become less in demand, so those services have stepped back a bit. So how it works now is you go to the passenger terminal building in the Eastern Docks, you check in with P&O, and because of EES, you get put onto a coach and you need to get brought out to the Western Docks to do your EES work and clear the French border, and then you get brought back through to the Eastern Docks that way. I think that that's how it's going to be for a wee while yet. We have started to give some thought of how we can improve that service, but it needs to be able to balance against the volume of people that are wanting to use it, and it may be 6 people on a sailing. So we need to make certain that we can cater for those 6 people in the best way possible. But it's also not the thousands that come through in their cars. So we work with P&O, and we make certain that they can provide the service that they need. Is that all right? Very good. If that's about it, then what I'd like to do is I'd like to hand back to Jason to bring the ACM to a close.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, all of you, this evening for being with us. Hoping that you found it informative, and also we were able to illustrate how much we've been busy in 2025, and I can tell you from what's going on already in 2026, that's equally as busy and hopefully as successful as 2025 is. As you know, we want to achieve for our customers, our port users, and our community economic growth, both locally and nationally. And it's very important that we get that right in both those areas. And we do that through technology, and you've heard a lot about the technology that's going on already. There's a lot more technology that's about to start in the port, and which we'll talk about next year. So we are pushing the technology barrier further and further, so which is exciting news. It also means that we will become efficient, quicker, faster as a port, and hopefully less aspects of congestion and disruption. However, such ambition does come at an increasingly high price, and you'll have heard from John just how much it costs to put into the port all the aspects that we either have to abide by compliance or all the aspects that we want to push forward with in terms of commercial opportunities and social opportunities for the community. But by doing so, we think the societal conversation that we've had today in particular, whether it be about plants, whether it be about young swimmers, the minnows, or whether it be other aspects of what the community fund is doing, we think it's worth it. And we will continue to carry on unless you tell us otherwise. But we do need your guidance. We can't understand all the things that are going on around us. And if there are areas or aspects you wish us to be more focused on with regard to how we help and cater the community, then you must tell us, and tell us, because we're very excited to do more wherever we can. A final reminder, all of the numbers and reports, particularly with regard to sustainability and so forth, are just about to be published now as I talk with regard to our reports. And those of you who are enthusiastic about QR and all the tech that we talked about this afternoon, you'll be able to get the details there, or indeed go online to portofdover.com. And then finally, the world's worst kept secret, which is Series 2 of Britain's busiest port. I'm told here I have to tell you that it's Monday, 8 p.m, the 22nd of June. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for attending. Thank you for your continued support. We hope that we're getting it right as a board for you and the port, and we look forward to continuing to serve you all wherever we can for the next 12 months. Thank you.